Hello everyone, and welcome to another RGB RPG's DM Prep Guide. Today we're going to be looking at the 7th session of our Descent into Avernus playthrough, and as always there are a lot of spoilers ahead, so if you do plan on being a player in this in the future, please go ahead and click away. But if you're a DM who wants to take a look at how another DM might run this adventure and prepare for each session, stick around and check out this series. So, we're going to be hopefully advancing the plot quite a bit in this session. Moving forward, we really start to get to the bottom of the Van Thamper's involvement in this, and then eventually towards getting closer to uncovering Thavius Krieg's involvement in the situation. So, going over our players, luckily a lot of our players do have ties that really straightforwardly draw them straight to what's happening in El Terrell, how it was dragged down, and everything. So, for Valifon, Krull, Anicola, and Althea, we have enough general backstory information to tie those in eventually. Generally, we start to really dive into backstory stuff once we leave Baldur's Gate, but we'll see what goes on from there. But Layden, I do intend to kind of probe into Layden's backstory a little bit. I haven't really gotten much yet, but maybe today we can take a look at that and see if we can figure out about Layden's character. So we start our session for this one, for session 7, with not really a very clear direction. There's a lot of options available to them, but the main thing that they know they need to do is get to the Van Thamper Villa. And they also know that Amric Van Thamper, they know his general whereabouts during the evening hours, and that he could be effective leverage against his mother should that become something they need. So, Amber can be found at the Low Lantern. There's a few things that he can confirm. He can confirm that they're working with devils, and he is going to be very... It will take a lot of convincing to get him to reveal who their true patron is and exactly what they're doing. But he does know that information. Yeah, so the Low Lantern itself is where they're going to find Amric at, and there is not a whole lot of bad things going on there. It's not like it's run by the family or that everyone in there is a bad guy. The vast majority of the people in the Lantern are just people trying to live their lives in Baldur's Gate. And that does include Lorelra. It does include her, the proprietor, affectionately referred to as the captain by her regular patrons. She is a retired adventurer wizard who runs the place, and she has been coerced by the Van Thamper family into allowing Amric to use the entire second level, the lounge area of the ship, for his own money lending business. Lorelra does not want to make an enemy of the Van Thampers, and so she allows this to happen begrudgingly. So Amric is down below decks when they arrive at the Low Lantern. He's expecting them. He's heard of what's going on in the city, what's been happening with the Dead Three. Word has reached him through various different means. He doesn't know exactly what the party looks like yet, or he doesn't know too much about them other than there is a group of adventurers that is out killing Dead 3 cultists left and right, and they appear to have been seen with his older brother, with his youngest brother, Morlock. So he's expecting trouble. As such, he is well defended, several bodyguards, and another below decks that will be called if the situation begins to look too dicey for Amric. I like to call him Shad. But yeah, there's also a very interesting creature accompanying Amric here below decks at the Low Lantern, and that is a spined devil. One of the first times their players really get to see a fiend out just in the open, just chilling, like it's not anything odd. This creature has been assigned as Amric's bodyguard and as a kind of a go-between, a middleman between Amric and his patron. So, the fight that could ensue here is pretty tricky. You want it to be intense, so if it's a big roleplay moment, let that play out, and then maybe have the fight be just kind of quick and to the point. But if they charge in guns blazing, then this should be a challenging thing for them. And as such, I have made some improvements to Amric's stat block to generally just make him more of a challenge for them if they do decide to go in guns blazing. And the main thing that I did for him is give him Devil's Sight. So if he is in a bad situation, he has a means of either escaping being able to see through the darkness that he creates or get the upper hand against his opponents. But as you can see here, he is rather formidable. AC 17 and 3 dagger attacks, that is pretty big, especially for a party of level 3 or 4 characters. So yeah, so he is no pushover himself, and then he's not alone. He's got 3 thugs with him and the Spined Devil. Now, if the players manage to get allies involved in this, or if it just generally turns into a easy battle, my go-to is just to bring in a bandit captain. I like to keep my players on my toes, so sometimes I'll bring in the bandit and then do this and restat him. So I get the bandit token and we get a bandit captain stats. So some token work has to be done there, of course, but nothing major. So now we have a big ol' potential addition to the fight. What I like to do is I like to turn his attacks into basically his fists. So he's still using all of the same stat blocks as the bandit captain does, except now all of his damage is transferred into bludgeoning damage, and you're saying this is just this massive guy just swinging his fists around. Or you can just use him as bandit captain. Either way, CR doesn't change. Nothing really changes about it other than the damage type. So, big fight if they choose to come in guns blazing. If they do decide to have more of an RP experience out of this, I do completely allow that, of course. Various different things could happen here. They could talk to Amric, but if they do get too comfortable, things can get tricky for them. Because while they're talking, if they are too comfortable and let their guard down, Amric will offer them drinks. Or not so much he will offer them drinks, but he will make a hand gesture to the Kenku bartender, who, seeing this hand gesture, be a sleight of hand check from Amric, and then a perception check or insight check even for the party members, anyone that notices this. And the Kenku will poison the drinks, bring them in, and anyone who drinks from those has to make con saves or fall unconscious. So could potentially even end up with them captured if things go completely south for them. But if they seem like they want to handle the situation without much combat, we do allow for that, and we allow the roleplay situation to play out however it goes, kind of improvising from there. And then any combat at the end will be brief. We won't bring in the extra guys. Amric won't use his dirty tricks, and the Spined Devil simply flees if it takes enough damage. So yeah, when they leave the Low Lantern, with or without a live or dead Amric, they do run into Rhea Mantlemorn outside. She has been having a rough go of it, and is now wanted by the Flaming Fist. They had cornered her while kind of patrolling throughout the city, and she had been seen and cornered and had to fight her way out and ended up wounding one of the Flaming Fist soldiers in so doing. So now she's a wanted criminal in the city, but she has found out a few things. If the players have found out that or learned that Thavius Creek could possibly be at the Van Thamper Villa, Rhea confirms this. If they do not already have hints about this, Rhea lets them know. This should lead them to the Van Thamper Villa. Rhea is kind of like our plot hook into the further story. She can let them know Thavius is there. I have seen some things, whether it be devils leaving the villa or Thavius himself wandering around, and she thinks he's being held captive there. So, for one reason or another, Rhea will try to convince the party to go to the Van Thamper Villa. So yeah, some contingencies in place if the party turns against Rhea for whatever reason. If they think that since they're working for the Flaming Fist that now they need to turn Rhea in, she will do her damnedest to escape. She barely knows these people, so she has no direct loyalty to them aside from the journey that they shared together on the road here. So she will certainly try to escape and attack if necessary. She is no pushover either, using the veteran stat block. So yeah, but I don't really expect that to happen, but if it does happen, she will do her best to escape. So, if the players get all the way to the villa today, they will find the exterior well guarded, 3 different groups of patrols that go around that villa. It's pretty difficult to get into. So, 3 patrols. This is kind of like their best point of ingress right here, because I've worked out a way where they kind of patrolled around and they constantly moved, and we rolled initiative as soon as the players got out. I found that bogged things down too much. It's easier if they're kind of just stationary, and you could even give the players a good point of ingress like we have right here along this back wall. Not making too much noise, they can get in there and possibly sneak past the guards. If a fight does erupt out here, luckily the only person of interest that is in the house proper is Thirstwell. His mother is downstairs below, and she will be for several days. The reason for that is unknown to the players, but they are conducting a ritual down there. So yeah, players have to get past these guards. They start a fight can happen. The Watch doesn't like the Lamra much, so they will not intervene even if a passing patrol does hear this fight out in the gardens. The players gotta get in, and the place is practically crawling with imps. Now they have super low hit points. They're not super dangerous, but enough of them together can be a real problem for a party of 4, for a party of 5 level 4 PCs. So there's a few servants inside of the place. They are underpaid and just too afraid to leave the family service, thinking that they might be killed if they do. They've seen a lot of terrible things that have happened here. But along with the servants, the guards are also underpaid and will not fight to the death for the Van Thampers. They will run if they get the opportunity. But yeah. So 3 servants inside the villa in the same situation as the guards. And Thirstwell is upstairs. He is well guarded by the house's most loyal guards, and these 5 will fight to the death. They know that if they fail, they'll be killed anyway, so they will fight to the death. There's also a helmed horror in here. If there's a suit of armor inside of the study that, if interacted with, does attack and does not stop attacking until the players leave the building. So this is about as far as I expect us to get today. Much farther and we get down into the dungeon, which is entirely possible if they do just hammer straight through the low lantern and this, but super unlikely. But if they do, the villa has an entire dungeon complex below it, and the encounter as soon as they get down there should be enough to stall them until time for next prep. But mainly what I plan on getting done today is getting the players to the low lantern, having them interact with whatever they want to in there, and then either capture or kill Amric. Either way, when they leave that place, they run into Rhea, who will hopefully pull them towards their next major objective, which is the Van Thamper Villa. Our NPCs, Mortlock is still in town in this playthrough, so they could potentially reach out to him. Amric, we really do intend to interact with. And when I think of Amric and I see his art, I really think of like a little bit more of a kind of a Bill Cutting light from Gangs of New York, the DiCaprio movie. That's kind of how I see him. He's very calm, he's very cool, but he's also very ruthless. Keeps himself collected, but has outbursts of rage that he sometimes has trouble controlling. He will sit on the couch if a fight erupts and kind of just hang back, and he is above this, and he will not attack anyone unless they come to attack him, in which case he will have an action held for his multi-attack, and they'll quickly learn that he is no pushover. Rhea gets reintroduced in this one. She's had a rough time while she's been in the city, but she is determined to get into the Van Thamper Villa at this point. So even if she does engage with the party and she has to flee, she will turn up back there. She wants to, what she believes, save Thavius Krieg, and she will stop at nothing to do that. Thirstwell is an interesting character. I've played him a few different times now, and he always elicits different responses from the players. Some players feel sorry for him, and thanks for that. Some players feel sorry for him and will underestimate his abilities. He has a super low HP pool, but he is a spellcaster, and he has an imp in the room with him that will attack given the opportunity. But Rourke Jr. is the character that always comes to mind, the sniveling kind of "I'm better than all of you" type of person, but also deeply disturbed and extremely violent if given the opportunity, and a person in Van Thamper's position has that opportunity. So that leads us to the potential captives that are held upstairs. These 2 commoners here are being held captive. One of them is the person who designed the sewer system beneath the city, beneath the Van Thamper Villa, and she designed it and was the foreman. And then to make sure that no one got their hands on the designs or anything like that, they kidnapped her and they plan on killing her here. And another one is just a traveling salesman who was unlucky enough to knock on the door and annoy the wrong Van Thamper and wound up in here. There are 2 imps up here as well. Again, the place is just crawling with imps. So yeah, Thirstwell is up there. We have the Low Lantern and Van Thamper Villa for our notable locations, well fleshed out in the text of the book. And then for our relevant stat blocks, Amric, the Thugs, and the Spine Devil all at the Low Lantern. Thirstwell Van Thamper. So Thirstwell, not exactly a dangerous combatant unless he gets the jump on the party. And then there's the guards and, of course, the imps all over the Van Thamper Villa. Not a whole lot of treasure in this one. This is kind of the build-up to the big dungeon that's coming up at the end of this chapter, which we're actually closing up on pretty quick. But not a whole lot of value, not a whole lot of items being let out just yet. There will be a lot coming soon. But Amric, he has that smoke bomb on him that if he throws on the ground will explode into a cloud of technically magical darkness that he can see through with his devil sight that he's been gifted. The players can get that, and with a Arcana check, they can figure out what it is, and they can potentially use that themselves later if they manage to subdue Amric before he gets a chance to use it. And then the villa itself is loaded with all kinds of valuables, art objects, expensive bottles of wine, and so on and so forth. They decided to loot the place. They could get a decent amount out of that. So yeah, that's really what we expect to get through today. The players get to the Low Lantern and face off with Amric, and from there potentially get to the Van Thamper Villa. They also have a bag of beans, which I am prepared for the most part. If the only thing that could really, there are two things that could happen on that table, that bag of beans table, that could throw a wrench into things. The beanstalk and the mummy tomb. If it turns out to be either one of those, we kind of have to, the story could fundamentally change, at least for a few sessions. The mummy tomb, we're going to have I'm thinking just one map prepared for that, just in case. Very quickly pulled in off of Gabriel Picard's library, which I use extensively in Roll20, and let them explore a basically randomly generated mummy tomb for a little while. The beanstalk is a little bit of a trickier one because it's a random location that it could get them to. If it does happen like that, I may have it turn out that it's taking a while for that to turn into to finally tune into the plane that it's going to, and have them come back and maybe it goes to Avernus. Who knows? We'll see. I don't want to plan too much for what's essentially a 5 or 6% chance of happening. So don't want to plan too extensively for that. But should certainly be aware that it is a potential, that it could potentially happen. So yeah, the bag of beans. Was not expecting anyone to find that, but this is the first party that really thoroughly searched the area that it was in, so they got it. But yeah, so that is what we have planned for today. So thank you for watching, everybody. You can, of course, check the actual gameplay for these out on the YouTube channel, and these prep videos are available on my Patreon 1 full month before they do become available on the YouTube. So if you're watching them on YouTube, check out the links below for that. And thanks again for watching, everyone. See you next time.